You could be a big mech just like me. All you need is a collection of bits. I'm going to tell you the best way to get it. Wow! Welcome back to the Red Ones Go Fast, the old Big Mech here. And yes, it is time that we talk about doing some Big Meching. And not just for orcs. Let's get into it. Alright, first of all, welcome one and all to the Red Ones Go Faster. I am indeed Old Big Mech, and this channel is all about the Warhammer hobby, specifically the hobbying part of it. Building, converting, collecting, those kind of things are what we're into here. And my conversions and advice on how to build armies without spending a ton of money by converting are by and far my most popular videos. And kind of the number one question I get from people, especially ones that aren't necessarily into orcs, are how do you do this? How do I make a bits thing? Like what does it really take to do conversions? And we're going to talk about it in depth in this video, because I get it all the time, and as this channel grows and we attract a bunch of people that aren't into just orcs, because I'm also not into just orcs, we're going to be doing more videos on other conversions. And so this advice is generic. It applies to every single Warhammer army out there, and even like not just 40k, it's going to be AOS, Horus Heresy, Old World, etc. But yeah, what you really want is a huge collection of bits. This is what you need in order to convert anything you want. I mean, I literally did a video called Every Kit is an Orc Kit, seen there, by turning a completely unrelated kit, in that particular case it was a Drukhari Raider, into something else using my bits collection. And these can be hard to build if you don't know what you're doing. So if you want to build your own, stay tuned. Let's get into it. All right, we are going to start at the very, very, very basics, because I don't know the skill level or the experience level of everybody watching this video. So we're going to do it for everyone. We're going to start at the very beginning. Warhammer is a game where you buy model kits like this and you build them into the figures. Now, most people are going to buy the kits new. They're going to build exactly what's on the box, and they're going to keep going on in life. A lot of the advice that we dispense here on this channel is about how you could take kits like this and turn them into other more expensive kits so that you could save yourself a little money. And you do that with bits. Well, what are bits? Let's start off with what the kit is. Now, these kits, they are plastic models, and they come on these things, which are called sprues. And these sprues have all these pieces on them. These pieces are your bits. And this big secret to this is that you don't use every single piece on most of the model kits. You have extras that are left over. They even show you this in the instructions. In fact, they'll show you that there's different options, and you have to pick which one you're going to do, version A or version B. And there's also going to be things like different heads and whatnot. So all of your parts and pieces that are left over, those become bits. You can want to clip them off of the sprue, and you want to keep them, and you want to organize them so that you have them available when you are ready to build something new and different. Now, why is this important? Again, if you're like me and you don't have a whole lot of money, or teeth as we say in orcdom, and you want to build something that is more expensive, you can often find cheaper kits and use them with your bits to make the more expensive things. Some examples being the individual characters, things like your captains, lieutenants, for orcs it'd be war bosses and things like that. All the different armies have their different leaders and their different elite units. Those particular single characters are often sold for $40 to $55 retail in the US for a single figure. However, they often give you extra parts in those kits, and if you just had some more bodies, you could make yourself more than one of them. There's also kits that come with extra bits that you can use to build kits that are more expensive without having to buy the expensive ones in the first place. So having the bits allows you to make models that you otherwise couldn't afford, or make more of them so that you're paying less per model, or even make things that are completely, totally custom when you want to get really into the crazy parts of the hobby. But for now, for this video, we are only going to be talking about making things that already exist. Now, when you start building your bits collection, it's important to remember that not every kit has extras. In fact, there are a lot of Games Workshop kits that have literally no extras at all, or even just no extras that are of any use. Here's a perfect example of that. This is the Farseer from the Eldar range, and you can see he's got a spear and a cape and a hand and a head, and that's it. You don't even have an alternative head. This is the entire kit. The retail on this guy is something ridiculous, and yeah, that's it. You can only make him and you're done. There's no extra bits. There's no anything like options or whatnot. So if this is a kit that you buy, you're not going to have any extras. It's not a great deal. This is an HQ model for the same army. This is Eldar army still, or Eldari as they call them nowadays. This is what's called the Autarch. The Autarch is another leader, not a psychic one like the Farseer, but they do all sorts of different things, and they come with options. In fact, you'll see here, there's a head here, and there's a head here with no helmet on it, and there's a head here. So you have 3 different helmet designs. And what do you notice? That head right there looks awfully familiar. It is almost identical to our friend the Farseer's head right there. You see those two? They both have the big crest coming up off the back. So you could use this head with a different robed body to make yourself a Farseer using parts in this kit. And you're like, well, what about a weapon? Well, as you see, there's a spear here. What does that spear look like? An awful lot like that spear, doesn't it? Look at those. Right on a battlefield, that is the same weapon, not a problem. And it's not like you're stealing the only weapon in this kit, because look, there is a chainsword, there's a fusion blaster, there's a bigger gun right there. So you have options. There's a pistol for this guy. So what does that mean? For basically the same amount of money, you could either buy yourself a kit that only makes one single guy and you're stuck with it, or buy yourself a kit that you can use the parts to make multiple guys. This kit plus a couple of extra bodies, you're going to be able to build yourself an Autarch, maybe even 2 Autarchs with different weapons loadouts, plus a custom Farseer. And that's going to make your money go a lot further in this hobby. And again, be totally legal. This is all Games Workshop plastic. These are all the correct items. You're not substituting anything that is going to confuse anybody on the tabletop. When you make your models, they are the real deal. You're just doing it in an alternative way. All right, now one of the best examples of a kit to start with to get extra bits for just about every army in 40K is the very, very basic troops kit. Again, we're talking Eldari. These are the Eldari Guardians. This is the newest kit, has 11 miniatures on there. You can see the heavy weapons platform in the background. And this kit is one of the best Games Workshop has done in a long time. First of all, you get a absolutely ginormous decal sheet, and you get a ton of sprue frames absolutely covered in parts. And the really great thing about these is that they're all designed to be built 2 ways. You'll see on here there are a bunch of close combat weapons to make Storm Guardians, as well as all of your heavy weapons here for your heavy weapons platform. And then in the rest of the sprues, you have your shuriken catapults as well, so that you can make them regular Guardians. So there are so many weapons on this sprue to do the squad in any way that you want, whether it's the smaller pistols or the bigger catapults. And then when it comes to heads, there's like 32 different heads on here. They have a helmeted head for each person and an unhelmeted head for each person. Or I'm sorry, 22 heads on here. And then, yeah, you get all these little extras like the grenades and stuff like this. So when you buy this kit and you build it, you're going to build the Guardians one way. Say like just with the catapults, you're going to end up with an entire spare set of these sword arms. Well, what do these arms look like? You really start looking at them. Those chain swords look an awful lot like the ones that the Striking Scorpions carry. The blades look an awful lot like the ones the Howling Banshees carry, right? Do you see where I'm going with this? You can use these to convert those aspect warriors, those elite units, that are a lot more expensive using bits of Guardians, depending on what other kits you have laying around or what you buy for bodies and whatnot. So this is a very good example of a kit that is absolutely chock full of extra bits to start building up your collection. Now, I know the number one question probably on everyone's mind right now is, well, how do you tell which kits have all the great options and which ones are mono build? And I'm going to tell you, it used to be a lot easier. On the older Games Workshop website, you used to be able to actually look at the sprues for each and every single model in detail, and that has largely gone away. There are some now on the new website that you can look at the sprues, but it is by no means all, and it used to be all. So that makes it frustrating. One thing you could do is look at the box itself and see if it shows options on the box. For example, this Guardians box, right? It shows you the whole squad with their regular catapults, and then it shows you the different heavy weapons for that, and then shows you these options right here. It says optional assembly right on the corner, and it shows your like fusion blaster gun and your chain sword and your power sword and the leader guy there. So it shows you right on the box that there are extras. And when you're looking at those optional assemblies, really pay attention. Here is the new Warlock set, and you'll see here on the back, it says optional assembly, but if you really look, the only thing that's really different are the heads and this one arm. So this guy right here with the sword, he's got the sword and a helmet, and then in this one, he's got a different arm and a different helmet, but if you look, that arm is on this guy here, and this arm is on this guy here. So you're not actually getting any extra arms. You just can put the arm on either body because the bodies are actually the same body. So really, all you're getting is 2 extra heads. So there's no extra weapons in here. There's no extra arms. It is literally just 2 extra heads. In fact, we can pop it open and show you to prove the theory so that you know what we're talking about. Here's the guys. You got your 2 bodies. Again, they are actually identical bodies. You've got your 2 base pieces, and then there's head number 1, head number 2, head number 3, head number 4. You'll notice there's just the 1 spear, there's just the 1 sword. Let's see, there's our pistol hand, there's just 1 of them there. And then where is the hand with the, just the hand, the bare hand is right here, that one. So yeah, no extra arms, no extra weapons. All you're getting is 2 heads. That's not a whole lot of extras. This isn't going to build up your army, your force, your bits collection, and in fact, isn't that great of a deal. So yeah, keep that in mind. But again, these basic kits, these basic squads are great for just about every army. Now, some armies do have like a mono build kit. Orcs are kind of famous for that one. The regular boys kit that has 10 miniatures in it is a mono pose kit that has almost no options at all. You basically have 2 different weapons for the knob and 2 different special weapons, and that's it. So that's a really bad kit. But the older boys kit with 11 models in it is absolutely chock full of stuff. We covered this in my Secrets of the Sprue video. When it comes to your other armies, you want to look for that kind of same thing as well. So here are the new Primaris Intercessors. You'll see here on the back, optional weapons. And so it shows you that you have different kind of bolters available for the guys. Now, unfortunately, that's about all that is optional in this kit. It is a great kit for bits, but it's not very optional. So I'll show you the sprues on here. Where they get these different weapon options isn't actually the whole weapon. You'll notice that the cartridge and the scope here is a separate piece. So they've got like this curved version, they've got this straight version, and then when you look at the actual weapon, you see here it's got a gap in the middle, and you're supposed to glue that extra piece in there. So you don't actually get a whole extra weapon like you did with the Eldar. They're just the single weapons, and you're changing out a bit on the weapon in order to make them different. Now, that being said, there is still some great extras in this particular kit because you do get quite a few different heads. They give you 10 full helmeted heads and a couple of unhelmeted heads, so you do get some spare ones there. And there are a couple of options on the arms for the sergeant and your, I guess there's not really a special weapon guy anymore. There we go. But they do give you a few options on here with guys that have kind of a little bit different stance. So they give you different arms and a different kind of way of holding the weapon. And they're all like this. There are a few different arm options for quite a few of these. So this is still a great kit for bit extras. They're just going to be a little bit basic because you're basically getting some heads and some arms. You're not really getting any extra weapons. That being said, these kits are still worth picking up because this is like the great basis for those extra bodies that you need in order to make the custom models. So in the case of the Space Marines here, you could buy yourself one of the kits that have from the HQ or the Elites that has a bunch of optional extras in it, especially the ones that have like a full set, 2 different sets of weapons. You can buy this kit for really cheap for the extra bodies to put the extra weapons on in order to make yourself 2 completely different squads out of that one really expensive box. So rather than buying 2 boxes of veterans, you buy 1 box of veterans, 1 box of regulars, and you put all of these guys together as veterans as well using those spare bits. Now, the next kit you really want to be targeting for just about every army is the Kill Team kits. Now, I don't have any of the little orange Kill Team boxes. Actually, I think I do. But this is one of the frames. This is the Orc Commando frame, and you can see it is absolutely loaded to bear with bits. The really cool thing about most of the Kill Team squads is that they have a bunch of extras in them that are specific for Kill Team, but those extras can be used to build heroes and leaders and HQ units and elite units for your regular army, again, based on those basic troop bodies. The commandos here, for example, you have every single commando body basically has the option to have a little knife. There we are. These knife arms, like this one right here. They also have options for just about everybody to have special weapons. There's a flamethrower and a rocket launcher and a breaching ram and a guy with explosives and all that kind of stuff. So you can either build them with all of the specials and have all of the knives left over to make yourself a whole squad of choppa guys or basic commandos, or you could build these guys all with the basic commando weapons and then use the special weapons on your leftovers or your extra bits in order to build, you know, a tick buster squad or an op squad or something like that. Or just have your special weapons in all of your other squads. So these kits are extremely good fodder for loading up that bits collection. All right, let's talk vehicles now, because vehicles are one of the most expensive parts of Warhammer 40k and one of the hardest to actually kit bash with, and that's for a reason. A lot of your vehicles, like this particular Megatrack Scrapjet model for the Orcs, are complete mono build. They have no extras, no options. In fact, when you look at the back of the kit and you read all the stuff on this one, you'll notice it does not say optional extras anywhere. There's not even a different head in here. You get what you get, and that is it. And a lot of the newer vehicle kits are getting like this, which makes it really difficult to have kind of anything different or have extra bits left over so that you can use to build more vehicles later or kit bash other things. Now, that being said, not every vehicle kit is like that, obviously, including new kits. So this is the Rogaldor battle tank. This actually came out after that Megatrack Scrapjet. And when you look here on the back, you'll see that they show 2 very distinct different turrets. And if you look real close, you'll notice that there's things like the riders here in the turret are quite different looking between the 2 pictures, as well as the guns on the front, the side sponsons, and then they even show you some little options on the guys. When you open this up and look at the spruce, it's absolutely chock full of extras because this is a centerpiece model. And in the centerpiece models, they want you to have all the different options for loadout, as well as all the different cool little extra fiddly bits to put on the model to make it look cool. And while you can use all of them, you often can't. Even if you take every single option on your kit, you're going to end up with, I mean, like this one, there's different gunners and things like that. So depending on which main weapon you choose, you're not going to have all the same guys on it. And same thing with like the top loading, all of the gubbins there on the top, you're going to end up with a lot of extras. So these main centerpiece kits are a great resource for those vehicle bits to add to your bits collection so that you can convert more things later. And for the Imperial Guard, it's the Rogaldorn and the Leman Russ are both fantastic, as well as the new Baneblade, not the new Baneblade, the Baneblade kit, the Ginormous Super Heavy. All of the new boxes come with every single variation in the box. So you end up with a ton of extra parts. So definitely something to keep in mind. Now, another great way to tell if a kit is good for kit bashing or for adding to your bits collection is looking at the part numbers that are on it online on the Warhammer website, you'll notice that some kits have multiple names and the same part number. This kit is an example of that. This is Mozrog Scragbad and also the Squig, or the Beast Boss on Squigosaur model. This is the same model. It comes in the same box. It's the same part number. It is listed on the website twice as both different names. So when you see that they are the same part number, you know that both of these are in the same box. Now, again, what you get is one squig body, one main like set of legs, and then you end up with two different upper bodies with the weapons and all that. But still, that's going to give you something to mess with. So if you were to build this guy, you'd end up with this top half left over that you can then use to convert into a special character for your orcs, or vice versa. So there are a lot of kits that are like that that have two different units inside. The orcs, the Ludas, and Burnaboys are, of course, the most famous of that. You get everything you need to build both squads in the box, except for you only get 5 bodies. So if you've bought that box and a box of regular orc boys, you could build yourself an entire squad of Ludas and an entire squad of Burnas out of the one box. The new Breaka Boys are like that. Again, back to the whole kill team thing, it's the new kill team for the orcs. The Breaka Boys come with everything you need to build Breaka Boys and everything you need to build Tank Busters. You just need yourself some extra bodies. And these kits exist in a lot of the ranges. It's not just an orc thing. I mean, we've been talking about Eldari a lot in this video, right? Like, this Guardian set builds both all of the Storm Guardians and all of the regular Guardians. Those of you that are old graybeards like me might remember, like, Black Guardians from one of the Craft Worlds Othway, I think. But yeah, like, you can, instead of having 2 different kits for that, it's all in the same box. The newly re-released Wave Serpent is the Wave Serpent and Falcon, everything you need in the box. So you're going to end up with a bunch of extra parts to build your actual vehicle. And this kind of knowledge is great for hobbyists that are already in the hobby. So for example, if you already own one older kit and it has like a certain build out on it, you can buy yourself the new version of the kit that's going to have a bunch of extras. Use those extras to then upgrade your older piece. For example, the Falcon Grav Tank didn't always come with all of the options. I mean, that sculpt has been around probably longer than a lot of you. It dates back to like 1982 or something like that on the base frame, and it's been upgraded a few times since then, but there are still parts from 92 in there, and they're all compatible with each other. So if you have an old Falcon Grav Tank and you're not happy with the loadout on it, you could buy the new Wave Serpent kit, build yourself a Wave Serpent or a Grav Tank, and take the extra parts in order to put the weapons on the tank that you want. Same thing with that Guardian kit that we just talked about. If you have an older Guardian kit, say you already have a Guardian squad that's got heavy weapons platform, but you don't like the weapon that's on it, that box comes with literally every single of the new weapons, so you can change the weapon on your old squad. You can also go, hey, I'm sitting on 10 million Guardian bodies. Now you can convert one of them into a squad of Storm Guardians just with those extra arms. So definitely something to think about. If you already have kits that are built, getting some of these newer kits that have all of these extra bits in them helps you to convert your older squads into the more modern standards or with the loadouts that you want. And I can tell you, kits you're going to want to avoid when it comes to kit bashing or building up your bits collection are things like this. This is Chaplain Grimaldus and his retinue for the Black Templar. This is a named character. Just about every named character kit is going to be mono build. You've only got the one way to build it. There's only the one option, and that's that. You might end up with like a different head or something like that. Even like the Primarchs. So like one of my grots has Rabute Gilliman. Rabute Gilliman came with a helmeted head and a bear head. But that was it. That is the only option in the entire kit. There is no other options in it. There are no other extra bits. So when it comes to named characters, you're really not going to get anything out of it. But this is also a great opportunity for you to then build and convert, because these guys are really expensive. So if you want yourself one of these special named characters, you can use your bits collection to build something that is going to be a great stand-in on the tabletop and look the part and not spend nearly as much money on it. Here's another great example that I was just talking about. This is High Marshal Helbrecht, again, for the Black Templar. You see here on the back, he's got a bear head and a helmeted head. That is literally the only option in this entire box. All right, so what kits to look at in order to start your journey then, right? You're like, okay, well, I've heard what you've said. I understand all of this. Where do I start though? Like, rather than just looking at every single kit in my particular army, are there any I should look at to start with? I'm going to say yes. When it comes to troops, you want to look at elite units. So you're talking about a unit that has a ton of options in it, and that box is going to have all of those options. So for example, for orcs, the knobs kit, regular old plain Jane knobs, not mega knobs or anything like that, just plain Jane knobs. They come with weapons options for every single body, like that Guardian kit. So there is a Mordaka weapon, a gun for each one of them, and then there are close combat weapons for each one of them, plus other optional extras on top of that. There's also going to be multiple sets of heads, and then different little add-on gubbins, the shoulder pads and the backpacks and the boss bulls and things like that, and you're not going to use all of those to build that squad. So with that set of knobs, I can take all of those extra bits, put them in my collection, and now I've got these pieces to make a special character moving forward, or maybe make a whole nother set of knobs out of another set of bodies if I pick up something else. So those elite units are very, very good for that. Most of your armies are going to have an elite unit like that. The Space Marines famously have quite a few that are like that. There's different veteran squads. There's like Stern Guards and Blade Guards and things like that. But you want to be careful and look on the website and look to see if there are build options in the box, or if they are mono pose or mono build, because they do make both versions, especially like at Space Marines and any other army that has been in the starter boxes. So Tyranids right now, Necrons before them, Death Guard before that, all three of those armies have mono build options, so definitely something to be aware of. Now, I know I said at the outset that this advice is good for all of Games Workshop's games, and then I've only showed you 40k kits. That's because I only really own 40k kits, but I have bought and built many of these kits for these other game systems to put into my 40k armies, or my 4 different kids armies, and I can tell you that the same advice applies. So when it comes to Age of Sigmar, you're going to have a very, very similar thing to 40k. You're going to want to buy an elite unit that's going to have a bunch of different options in it, especially different weapons loadouts, or if the unit can be built into 2 completely different units in the same box, that's going to give you a ton of extra bits. You're also going to want your very basic troop squads. Those are the best way to start to get basic bodies in order to make these conversions, and also the best way to get a bunch of extra bits to start building your collection up, so that you've got options for when you are kit bashing things. I know that we've done this with Stormcast Eternals. I know that we've done this with Cities of Sigmar guys. So they're definitely out there in all of the different armies. Just take a look at your boxes. Which brings me to one of my biggest tips in this whole thing, and that is looking at Old World and or Horus Heresy as a way of getting more of those bodies. You heard me talking about, like, well, these kits come with a bunch of extra bits, you just need some bodies. And I know what you're thinking to yourself is going, well, where am I going to get the bodies without spending a whole bunch of extra money? Sometimes it's easy, right? You know, if you're building Space Marine veterans or something like that, they have the same basic armor and body as your regular Primaris intercessors. There you go, you buy one of those boxes. Now you have 10 bodies to build things with. But if you are playing an army that isn't Space Marines, that's going to be a lot harder. Or maybe you are doing Space Marines, but they aren't Primaris. Well, again, these are where those other game systems come into play. Old World especially is incredibly valuable for this. Their battalion boxes, so when you buy their basic squad, it is 30 guys, or 20 to 30 guys, depending on the army, compared to like 5 to 10 guys for a 40k or an AOS squad. So when you need extra bodies, getting the version from Old World that is closest to your army is going to give you way more basic bodies than you ever thought possible. And they're often fully compatible. Again, very orc-centric here, but famously, the Old World, so, you know, what would have been Warhammer Fantasy Battle, now called Old World, the orc kit with all those different orcs in it is the same ball and socket setup as the 40k orcs. So literally when you kit bash, there is no cutting, there is no figuring out. You are just gluing whatever part you want onto the guy because they all use the same connections. So if you want to get a whole bunch of boys, instead of buying that 11-man boy squad like I was talking about earlier, you can buy yourself that old world squad that's going to have 20 or 30 in it, and now you've got a whole lot more basic boy bodies in order to build up your different conversions. They also often have cool bits and extra things on them that you can use in your 40k army or in your Age of Sigmar army to give you some different kind of weapons loadouts and different extra gubbins to put on things. But yeah, those basic bodies are fantastic. Obviously, you know, a high elf can turn into whatever the new Age of Sigmar version is. Sylvaneth or something like that. I don't know. I'm really bad with all of these new names, even on 40k. Like, you hear me call them Eldar all the time, not Eldari. I don't get the naming schemes that are strictly for copyright reasons. But you know what I'm talking about. Like, if you play whatever the new version of High Elves is, you can go grab High Elves. If you're playing the Caradon Overlords, whatever the new dwarfs are, you can get an Old World Dwarfs box, and you can use those as basic bodies with your elite kit so that you can build more of your elite guys. So that's how you get those extra bodies coming. So Old World is a fantastic resource for that. It's also a great resource if you want to do some kind of more serious kit bashing. Right now, Empire just got re-released for Old World. A lot of those Empire kits make for some fantastic conversions for Imperial Guard. So if you didn't want to go spend a whole ton of money, $65 a pop or something like that now for a Krieg squad to get your basic troops as Krieg guys, you can go buy this Old World box and use them with your spare las guns, because your regular Imperial Guard infantry kit is going to come with a whole bunch of extra las guns, and now you can put those all on those guys and make yourself a couple of infantry squads for a lot less money, and have it be from like a cool feudal world or, you know, Australian Firstborn or something like that, depending on which kit you start with. So those Old World kits are a fantastic resource. Now, when it comes to Space Marine, you want to look at Horus Heresy if you are building anything that is Firstborn or Chaos. And the reason for that is, while we've gone to Primaris for 40k for regular Space Marines, and there is a ton of Primaris out there, it's super easy to, like I said, buy some basic squads, buy an elite squad, mix them together, boom, you got yourself 2 elite squads, and you can build yourself a bunch of special characters. If you are building a Firstborn army, that has gotten a lot harder. A lot of the Firstborn kits have been discontinued. But you can go buy a Horus Heresy kit, and it's going to come with 20 Marines instead of 10 Marines. And again, a whole bunch of different extra head options and special weapons for the sergeants and the special gunners and whatnot. You can then use those kits to build out your Firstborn army for a lot cheaper, or build out your Chaos army for a lot cheaper. One of the great things is a lot of the new Chaos kits are like that Eldar kit that I showed you, that they have a full set of weapons to do your squad like 2 different ways. So if you were to buy 1 box of the Chaos Space Marine of your choice, and then 1 box of the Horus Heresy Marines that you want to use as your basic bodies, you can put all those extra weapons on those basic bodies and get yourself to that finish line for a lot less money. Now, there's just 2 more secrets left to look at in the Games Workshop arsenal, and that is Necromunda and Bloodbow. Sorry, my brain keeps freezing up there on me. Yes, so Necromunda and Bloodbow. Those games are incredibly fun games with some of the best minis that Games Workshop makes. They are a little bit more expensive. However, if you are bashing yourself, your HQ models, your special characters, your really, really elite things, and you're struggling to find some bodies that are dynamic enough or big enough, that is where you look. So Blood Bowl, for example, you can get the Blood Bowl, again, back to the orcs, but you can get the Black Orc squad for Blood Bowl. It's got 12 guys in it, and those 12 guys are big guys with really great dynamic poses. So if you needed your extra bodies, say, for example, that Breaker Boys kit we talked about that has all the Breaker Boys and all the tank buses in it, getting yourself that box from Blood Bowl gives you the extra bodies you need that are the right size and the dynamic posing to do that conversion. And that Blood Bowl box is going to be far less expensive than the Kill Team box. Same thing when it comes to Necromunda. There's a couple of different Necromunda robots and things like that that are incredibly cheap compared to doing like Mega Armor or Terminator Armor or the different Adeptus Mechanicus robots. You can get yourself the Necromunda version for a lot cheaper and use that as your basis for making your special character or your kit bash. They also have things like some of the actual Necromunda gangs or squads can be used as great stand-ins for other things for a lot cheaper. So there's the guys with the robes that are all kind of weird looking. You can use those for Adeptus Mechanicus or as Chaos Cultists, which again, those kits are really, really expensive. So getting the extra bodies from the Necromunda kit really takes those kits a lot further and gives you a chance to kit bash some really cool things. They also have ones that make great stand-ins as is. There's the, I don't know, enforcer dudes that are like the closest thing to following the law in Necromunda, and they make a fantastic stand-in for those breacher squads that are, again, like a $65 or up kill team versus buying the box for Necromunda that's like $45, and you can often find online for quite a bit cheaper because those kits tend to get marked down because they're a much slower seller than your kill team squads. So something to think about. All right, that's a long video with a lot of advice in it. If you have any questions about any of this stuff or specific kits on specific armies, throw them down in the comments below. I will do my best to answer, and so will the rest of the community. We also have a Discord server. It's always free. It's never behind a paywall. It's linked down in the description below. So if you have questions about armies, you can hop on there. Again, not just orcs, even though it's our biggest section. We do have sections for every single army on offer, so we can definitely help you figure out what kits you need to buy for your specific conversions and which kits are going to be the best to have all of those extra gubbins and bits on them. And finally, if you are watching this video when it comes out or in the early part of 2025, one other way you can get yourself a bits collection like this is to support Old Big Mech. I am doing a giveaway where you can win Old Big Mech's Orc Army, where I am giving away a substantial portion of my own personal collection, as well as a couple of other extra special prizes, including a pretty good size bits collection. So it would be a way for you to jumpstart that collection to build your own WA. The way you can do that is either by supporting me on Patreon or here on YouTube with a channel membership. Every month that you are a paid member, it gets you another entry. And we'll have more details about that and the full lowdown on everything that you're getting as soon as I finish putting it all together, because I keep finding more and more cool stuff to make it as big and as awesome and as cool as I can. All right, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you found something that helps you with your army and with your hobby journey, and maybe save a little bit of money and actually make your army a little bit more personal and a little bit more unique, which is what we're all about here at The Red Ones Go Faster. So until next time, walk on!